Sean and I have been huge fans of you for a long time. We each actually might have a Thick Boy shirt. I don't drink, otherwise I would have your whiskey.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Bappa was recently a guest on the My First Million podcast, and oh boy was it a spicy dish. There is so much to unpack from that podcast. He gives us so many bizarre takes and lies. The craziest part is he's lied about these things for so long that he's actually started to believe them. He's so deep in that he doesn't even know what's in reality and what's in his head. What's funny is that this podcast is a business podcast and they do interviews with entrepreneurs who are, quote, creating big and meaningful companies. So why the fuck did they have Brendan Schaub on? I have no idea. Like, do you need advice on how to ruin your career? Have you always wanted to start a failing whiskey business? Well, you're at the right place. You just gotta follow in Bappa's footsteps. I'm telling you, the comedy just creates itself. So Bappa goes on and hits on the token Schwab points like posting and ghosting, God giving him broad shoulders so he could handle the hate, and how the homeless cats are evil. Let's start this off with a bang. The first clip I want to show you guys is Bappa saying the reason he gets bullied is because he's so big and sexy and has tattoos and everyone is just jelly of him.
You know, if you look at me, I know, I probably look like the guy that bullied you in high school. and, they'll use some of that, like, oh, Brendan's a bully or whatever. And I know I look like the guy, so I don't give it energy because if I did, I wouldn't have a business. I wouldn't have this house that I'm talking to you guys in right now. So, I was built for it. That's why God gave me big shoulders, but I'm built like a warrior. Like you would look at me. And I think that's one of the reasons I get hate from these guys. They think it's okay to treat me the way that they do because, I look like a gladiator. I'm this big dude with tattoos and cauliflower ears. Also, if you want to have this conversation in person, you want to offend me, we can do that. I can do that. We can just see how it goes for you.
God, get a load of this guy. So Bappa goes from, oh, I look like the guy that bullied you in high school, that's why they all hate me. But I'm a nice guy, man. God just gave me these broad shoulders because he knew I would need to persevere. To talk shit to my face, I dare you. If I focused on the hate, I wouldn't have this big house or be a network CEO. He's so out of touch that it's shocking, and that's why he gets made fun of. Every time he gets asked about the hate, instead of taking some accountability and learning from it, he just goes off on these token points of, oh, they're just jealous haters. He's so freaking unlikable, and he goes on to claim that he's in the business of likability.
I'm in the business of likability. I make a living off likability.
Bopsky, if you were in the business of likability, your ass would have been bankrupt ages ago. Bappa is one of the most unlikable people I have ever witnessed. He makes goddamn Wings of Redemption look like a saint next to him. But just when you think it couldn't get worse, Bappa goes and drops this dish on us.
Brian goes through some bullshit Me Too movement and he has to leave. And Chris D'Elia goes through some bullshit Me Too movement and Chris D'Elia has to leave.
I don't know, man. It didn't seem bullshit when Bappa first spoke about the allegations.
I'm as shocked as anyone. I'm hurt. I'm mad. I'm fucking mad, man. I'm mad at him.
Okay. So these two redacts were literally front and center crying about Chris D'Elia's behavior and how it was disgusting. But now he's claiming that it was the BS Me Too movement. Well, which is it, Bappa? And if anyone that mattered said these things, they would immediately be crucified. But when Schwab says it, it's just brushed off because he's redacted. Like, yeah, it had nothing to do with the raping or grooming or the consequences of their own actions, but the big bad woke movement. But Bappa doesn't just stop there. He goes and claims that The Fighter and the Kid was the launching pad for all the current big comedians.
Find the Kid, outside Joe Rogan, Find the Kid was the launching pad. If you go through it, you look at Tim Dillon, you look at Andrew Schultz, Santino, Theo Vaughn, Chris D'Elia. You look at all the people that came on there and just exploded.
I'm telling you, man, all those guys would be nobodies if it wasn't for the mentorship that Bappa provided them. He's the second in command after Daddy Rogan. Thank God he stayed back in LA to hold down the fort. If it wasn't for him, it would be anarchy.
Clearly, I'm not a black man. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I'm not black.
Professional comedian, everybody. Bappa didn't stop there. I'm telling you guys, he gave us a feast for Easter. In this next clip, he talks about how he used to hang out with all the comedians and they would always tell him that he's so funny and that he should be a comedian too.
I have some great mentors, and
Joe Rogan's like a brother, and Brian Callen, and Theo Vaughn, and Tom Segura, and Bert Kreischer, and Joey Diaz. So I have just this plethora of just amazing comics that I was around.
And I was always, I'd go to dinner with them and do all, the podcasts with them, make them laugh, and they all encourage me to do stand-up.
Oh, this dude's funny when we hang out? cracks jokes, bust ball. Oh yeah, this guy's good. He's a funny guy. To you're on stage and you got to do a set. That's like a it's like a different thing altogether. And you know,
The co-host hit the nail on the head. Even he knows that Bapa's redacted. Like, who goes from being told that they're funny to thinking that they should go be a comedian? Only a redact that's socially inept, that's who. And that's why Bapa's failing. He's stuck in this mentality of, if I just keep doing it, I'll get good eventually. Like, no Bapa, you just don't have the talent, like in any facet B, which is why he wasn't offered another contract from Showtime. But Bapa twists the story to make himself seem like the big business mogul.
And, I worked for Showtime for 6 years. I built their entire, podcast branch. 6 months prior, they offered me another 6-year contract. And I was just looking around and I feel like I could do this on my own. I am an entrepreneur. I feel like I see what they built. I turned down the contract and was like, I'm going to do it on my own, start Thick Boy Studios.
So for those of you that don't know, Bapa used to work for Showtime. He did his first stand-up special with them and it was the worst rated special at that time. He had the big brown breakdown under them, but he was lazy. He wouldn't watch any of the fights and would literally just pull up the fighters' Wikipedia pages and read it out badly. Other people in the studio didn't want to work with him because he was arrogant and always wanted things to be his way. He also refused to cover Bellator fights, which Showtime was contractually obligated to cover. And at the end of the day, Bapa just wasn't a big enough draw to put up with his BS, so Showtime never tried to renew him. But Bapa makes it seem like he's the one that didn't want to sign with them. What a goof. So in this next clip, I'm going to show you guys this heart-wrenching story that Bapa tells about how much he misses the good old days of comedy in LA. It actually brought a tear to my eye. So make sure you have a tissue handy to wipe away the tears.
I used to pull up and Rogan would pull up in his Porsche and we'd park next to each other and we'd talk shop about the cars and what's next. And then Santino would pull up and we'd talk to him and Chris D'Elia, and then Brian would pull up and Bobby Lee and Theo, and we'd be in there and it was the best. It was the absolute best. And I wish 5, 6, 7 years ago, somebody would have tapped us on the show and like, hey fellas, in 2 years, this is all gone.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
Oh, the good old days of pulling up in our Porsches and talking about cars. In all reality, Bapa is just sad that the gravy train left. His career has declined since his daddy Rogi left him. The days of him just effortlessly gaining success by associating with other comics are over. Now he actually has to be creative and good at comedy, which, as we know, is Bapa's kryptonite. In this next clip, Bapa talks about how he thought that Dana made the Reebok deal as a personal attack on him.
With Dana, because when he made that deal with Reebok, I took it personal. I thought it was a hit against me, and it put a chip on my, when I say chip, I had an entire Pringles can on my shoulders.
How out of touch and up your own ass do you have to be to think that a multi-billion-dollar company is doing a business deal as a personal attack on you? That's a narcissist, B. And of course he's got to recycle that can of Pringles joke. Like, write some new jokes, Bapa. If mental gymnastics were a sport, Bapa would be a gold medalist. I will say I do love seeing Bapa on other podcasts because he regurgitates his story like it's Rocky 2. There were some other spicy clips that I didn't cover. Like, at one point the host of the show asked him what kind of numbers his podcasts are doing, and Bapa responds by talking for 5 minutes but not answering the question at all. And eventually they just move on because they realize this redact either doesn't know or he's doing so poorly that he doesn't want to share. All in all, it was a solid podcast. If you need business advice, definitely don't listen to that episode. And I won't pile on too much on these hosts, but I'm genuinely flabbergasted that people actually buy that hideous Thick Boy merch. Out of all the addies and baddies you could spend your money on, y'all wearing Thick Boy merch? What are we doing here? Anyways, if you like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel.
I just don't subscribe to it, man. I don't think it's healthy. Boys podcast, All the Smoke with Matt Barnes, my buddy Joe Rogan. I'm just cut from a different cloth.
You're a lot more insightful than I thought, and I thought you were pretty insightful, and you're...
I'm gonna fail by next year. No.
No.
So